Derby baby, scene 1.
Hi, I'm Snack Pack. I go by Snacks. My number's 96. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a blocker who loves the line.
Hi, I'm Thorn. I am number 5. I use she, they pronouns, and I am a jammer for Connecticut roller derby.
I'm Scoots my glutes. I go by Scoots. My number is 3331, and my pronouns are she, her. I am a blocker who flirts with jamming.
What are the rules? What are
You
the
just
positions?
skate and smash.
Skate and smash?
Derby is skate and smash.
Roller derby is a sport played on quad roller skates.
But you're in a track and it is a regulation size, 2 teams playing each other.
There is a jammer on each team who wears a star on their helmets, and there are 4 blockers that go out with them every jam.
One of them will wear a stripe, and the stripe is called the pivot. The pivot is the only player that is allowed to take the star from the jammer and then become the jammer.
The point of roller derby is for the jammer to get points.
You don't have a ball, you get points by lapping the other team.
The jammer can only get points by going around the track and passing the other team's blockers with their hips. So for every blocker they pass, they get a point.
The job of the blocker is to try and stop the other team's jammer from getting through.
Through the massive skaters, per se, the pack.
There are mini jams in a game that's split into 2 periods.
Each jammer is trying to get the lead jammer, where you can control when the jam ends. Each jam is 2 minutes long, unless the lead jammer calls it off. A lot of high impact, a lot of sprinting, and a lot of trying to push your way through other people's bodies.
Don't get smashied by the smashers.
Whoever gets the most points wins.
Joining roller derby, I joined because I knew someone who played, and they said that I should play because I had skated when I was a kid. I had kind of been around the social circle for a little bit at first. That kind of took the fear out of joining. So then I joined a rookie class, and it was pretty much game over from then. I fell in love with it.
I really just wanted an outlet to skate more. So I actually knew one of my kids' friends' mom. I remember she told me that she had once played roller derby and she had lived in this town forever in Champaign, Illinois. So I reached out to her and I asked her if it still existed. And she said there's like a handful of us, like 5 people, meeting once a week to practice in the community center in Champaign. And she was like, just come. So I came and it was great. And I've never left.
In my junior year of college, a friend of mine was curious about roller derby and wanted to do a thesis project on it, so I went with them to watch a Rose City game, knowing nothing. And then I just remember sitting there being like, I absolutely want to do this sport. I jumped on board and I haven't looked back.
When did you first start skating?
I don't remember.
Really?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, yeah.
Well, so I started skating, oh my God, when I was maybe 4, 5, 6. Someone put me in skates very young, and I stayed in skates for a very, very long time.
At first, I was Bambi on skates. I don't have a background in roller skating or ice skating or anything on skates. A lot of my athletic background is in swimming. I did water polo swim team forever. So it was a big learning curve.
My first memory of roller skating is roller skating outside, as a really, really young child, maybe 8 or 7. I just don't remember a time not knowing how to roller skate.
Every time something clicked and it became easy, it just motivated me more. And then when I could do the things without thinking about it that I saw other people do with ease, it was oh, okay, it's happening. Not at the speed I thought it was gonna happen, but it's happening.
So yeah, I was just this little tomboy kid and kind of became friends with all the skater boys in school, but then girls would start pointing out that I was more of a boy than a girl, and things like skateboarding and rollerblading were things that boys did. And it became really hard for me to kind of feel like I fit in.
And then when I was like a preteen, you have to remember this was the 90s. So I was on rollerblades for a little bit and played a lot of like roller hockey, like street roller hockey with all the boys. Was always playing with the boys. I loved that. I went through a lot of hockey sticks. I broke a lot of hockey sticks playing street hockey.
I grew up about 20 minutes south of San Francisco in California. Sports and activities was like a really great way to not be at home, and the more I was not at home, the easier my life was in a lot of ways. The main sports I did were swim team and water polo and soccer.
Here I was like, this is supposed to be this girl, you know, she, her, gender norms, you know, hanging out with all these boys and dressing like a boy and connecting with boys, but then eventually getting bullied so badly by girls that I decided to just kind of completely stop being that.
I mean, I was very often mistaken for a boy when I was younger, like pre-puberty. I did not identify as a boy ever, but I also really didn't identify with being a girl ever.
So I always knew I liked women, and I, even in college, always felt like I liked women more than men. At the time I was like, but I can't be lesbian. So I spent my 20s identifying as bisexual.
In 8th grade, I killed like the skater girl version of myself. I basically was like, I can't be you anymore because it's not safe to be you. And so I started being who I thought I had to be.
I was actually really inspired by my own kids, and when I had my second child, when they were 5, they started asking us a lot about gender and why we were calling them a certain gender, why we were using certain pronouns. Because of the knowledge that my partner and I had around gender, we were able to tell them that they didn't have to do that, and we could do what made them feel most comfortable. So I think just having the knowledge of that at an early age, I would have absolutely utilized.
Part of why I moved to Connecticut originally was because my partner at the time got into grad school. I don't have family out here in the East Coast, so I was very isolated, which is also part of why I really wanted Derby or community, desperately needed some sort of community.
There was like a specific time, core memory, trauma. I had had a group of girls message me that no boy is ever gonna like you if you dress like a boy and act like a boy. Like, you'll never be loved. And that was the moment where I was like, I can't be loved if I'm like this, so I have to give this up. And yeah, I stopped skating.
I think it took me quite a while because I'm older and have relationships with people for a long time, and it almost feels like I don't want to be a burden to anyone else, but I'm also in the point of life where like life is really short and I don't want to do that anymore. So being able to advocate for my own child for so many years has made it easier to advocate for myself.
What was like the social side of things like?
I mean, do you want the honest answer?
Yeah.
At first it sucked. Part of why I really wanted Derby is because everyone was so close. There was like a level of closeness in the team that I wanted, but it was definitely not what I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be like I walk into the track and then have 20 new best friends, but it definitely took I would say about 1.5 years before relationships started to form. And it wasn't until I started playing travel team games that I really felt like there was any kind of bond.
I wasn't joining roller derby because it was a queer community. I think I found roller derby and then was like, oh, this is awesome. It's a really queer community. And then it was like I was able to be myself.
I wasn't really familiar with what the derby space was going to be like. When I joined CTRD, I also was using that space to feel it out, and I do what I always do, which is I'm like, she, they, and like see what the vibe is. I felt comfortable being at the point where like, okay, I'm using they, them pronouns and you can get on board or not. So it didn't take that long to use them there. I still get misgendered quite a bit at CTRD, but I don't think it's intentional. And I noticed that a lot of us are exploring our gender identity in roller derby, and people's pronouns have changed since I've been there, and maybe not everyone is up to date.
My partner at the time, we broke up because I realized that I was a lesbian. I think had it not been for derby, it would have been harder to have the courage and feel like I had the community to actually leave. People showed up in a way, like emotionally, that was like very authentic and honest and real. I mean, this furniture was built by 2 team members, so it was a really great experience in a time that was not easy.
It's this weird thing where like, I don't know if being gay brought me back to skating or if skating brought me back to being like my queer weird self. I think one happened before the other, but skating and then finding roller derby kind of helped me become comfortable with being queer. Like it's one thing to be like, okay, I'm a queer person, oh my God. And then it's another thing to be like, I'm a fucking queer person and this is cool. And I think roller derby allowed me to settle back into that.
I have 2 kids that play junior derby. The juniors that I help coach, number 1, they're amazing. But number 2, I find that derby has been a space that has even more gender nonconforming kids than I think the adult league has. And I think that it's just become really important to me in creating that space for genderqueer kids.
It like kind of felt like coming home even before the social things started clicking, just like being able every week to go to a space where queer was the default in some way kind of brought me back to myself in a way that I had been missing.
It sounds corny, but like derby brought me back to like my hat game. I used to wear backwards hats all the time as a kid. I loved it. I felt so cool. And then I stopped because backwards hats aren't girly. My first skater headshot, I was like, I'm wearing a backwards hat. I remember getting those back and just being like, that's her. I'm her again. She's here and she's safe and it's okay.
Roller derby is setting a precedent for how other sports should operate, especially right now. For somebody with my body type and size, I've played sports my whole life, and I have never felt like my body is an asset as I have in roller derby. It's always been an asset. I just never felt like it was an asset because I wasn't told it was an asset until I got to roller derby.
A lot of sports, you have to start when you're 5 if you want any chance to be in a competitive level. Roller derby, you can start in your 20s or 30s and still be able to play at a competitive level if you want to put the work in. I think because you have to choose it and you have to keep choosing it and you have to like commit to it as an adult, that adds kind of like this authenticity and queerness. Even if the makeup of the team isn't full of queer people, it still can exist.
Oh, this is queer, and it doesn't have to be like obviously queer. I think that kind of helped me realize like queerness is normal and it's not this obvious thing that makes you different. You just see pieces of you in everyone, so then you start putting them together and then it's settling into being who you are.
A full contact sport, especially for women and gender nonconforming people, is so liberating. It's everything that you're taught not to be. You're always taught like not to take up space. You're taught to be nice, just be nice, just be nice, just be nice. And roller derby provides a space where you take up space and you are aggressive, and that is so liberating.
I think the way I've always approached derby is the way I was taught to approach music. No matter what's happening outside, you walk in those doors and your focus is the music. Like nothing else really matters. And with the current political climate, Derby's like the one place that can still be true.
I will say that there's a part of being in roller derby where like you find chosen family because we're all taking care of each other. One of the politicians was basically like, what you need to do right now, the most important thing to do right now is to find community. And I remember them saying that and me just being like, kind of feeling like this sigh of relief because that's what I have, like through derby.
Roller derby, I can hit a jammer out and like it looks like it's really brutal for them. And then they'll just like get up and like we'll hug each other. Like that is like the coolest thing ever. Like we both loved that happened. And it's good, it's really good.
We're all like doing a sport that is high physical demand, high physical impact. And that in itself kind of feels contradictory to what patriarchy says women should be doing.
I mean, when you look at roller derby, you got people in their 50s playing roller derby, you got retired people playing roller derby. So there's also the saying in roller derby where it's like roller derby's for every body, like body type. We got small people, we've got larger people, we've got long, slender noodles like me just slithering their way to the pack, and then I've got a teammate who's just like a train that like hits a wall and busts it open. It's like roller derby can be for anyone. So yeah, put the skates on.
I think overall, the culture of CTRD and roller derby at large is very clearly in support of trans, non-binary, and genderqueer skaters. But I see some leagues doing that type of support in louder or stronger ways than others do.
Practice is not where political action is happening, other than just being a space for trans and queer people to just exist, because that is a political act right now.
It's so hard to be a kid. It's so hard to be a queer kid. And I think it's just so important for kids to be themselves, especially now when it's hard to be yourself.
You're not sure if you want to do roller derby, but you're trying to find community and you don't want to feel alone. That definitely exists, and don't give up looking for it. It exists, I promise you, it exists.
I feel like so thankful to like be able to play derby and like have a body that can play competitively.
In my derby box, I have a little picture of me in rollerblades because it's like, I have to remember that I'm playing for her, because as soon as I'm not playing for little Lindsay, or little Thorn, I should say, then it's not fun anymore. And I want her to be proud of me.
Derby is like the constant that I can like show up to, and I'm gonna typically feel really good after. For me right now, it's like keeping me holding on, which is really important.
Like that to me is ultimately like what authentic queerness is. It's just being yourself regardless of what others see it as. And like a bunch of femme and like non-binary, but not patriarchally dominated space, having a bunch of people who are just showing up as themselves. I don't know, there's something just like very healing about that.
Oh God, wow, what a beautiful thing. That could be a fucking documentary.
That's when